As I've gotten older, I realize there's nothing more important than protecting my peace and protecting it at all costs. I used to spend my time with people who thrived on gossip and drama until I realized how much of my personal energy that time cost me. Now, I limit my time and interaction with people, places, and things that drain my energy. I also set firm boundaries on protecting my mental well being, and while it's not always easy, it does get better over time. In this episode, I'm sharing the different ways I've come to learn to protect my peace and how it's made a huge difference in my life. If you're struggling to set boundaries, preserve your energy, or protect your peace, hopefully some of my strategies and experiences can help you too. So here's the thing. It wasn't until I was in my 30s that I realized just how important protecting my peace was. A friend had referred an audiobook to me called The Celestine Prophecy, and it completely opened my eyes. I'm going to link to that book in the show notes because it was a total game changer. I used to wonder why I always felt depleted, like mentally and emotionally, after spending long periods of time with certain people. And then I realized they were taking my energy to build theirs up. So every time I was interacting with these people and just listening to the things that they were saying and just soaking everything in, which by nature I do. I mean, I'm a coach, I work with clients. It's my job to listen and to understand. And unfortunately, it got to a place with certain people, not clients, certain people where I would listen and consume, but that would deplete my energy, almost as if as they were going and going and going, my energy got less and less and less, and theirs got more and more and more. It's really crazy to think about it now. And, I just started realizing this, over the past couple of years, but who knows how many instances throughout my 20s where I just wasn't aware of somebody draining my energy or me giving my energy away. So very eye-opening. And now, thankfully, I limit the time that I spend with those types of people, and it truly makes a world of difference. Now, it wasn't easy because some of these people are just naturally in my life. I'm not going to get specific, but some of these people I can't just cut off completely, right? Like they're in my life and I don't foresee them going anywhere. However, I needed to mentally prepare myself to spend time with these types of people and set my boundaries and how much time I could spend in one sitting with those people. Setting boundaries is never easy for the person setting the boundaries and for the person who is receiving those boundaries, but people do adjust to the new norm over time, and that has been my experience. Another thing that I do now is manage my own expectations. I am aware of how I feel when I'm in the presence of those types of people, and I take my space, I take the time when needed. And I remind myself that I can only control myself and my own reactions. A lot of times I think the people who suck other people's energy either aren't aware of it or it helps them in some way, shape, or form, so they're not going to stop it. And I don't want this to sound like those people are bad people because they're not. It's just a lack of self-awareness, or it's something that makes them feel better, regardless if it's hurting the people they're interacting with. So managing my own expectations, understanding that it's not personal, right? Like if I'm feeling mentally and emotionally drained after spending time with someone, it wasn't because they were intentionally doing it, hopefully. And I say that because you never 100% know with certain people, but I truly believe that the people that would do that to me did not have the self-awareness to realize it. But before I kind of got to this place where I was managing my own expectations, I would actually find myself feeling bad for needing my space and setting my boundaries, and almost feeling bad for feeling my energy being sucked when I was with those people. But then I realized that setting boundaries doesn't just have to be for others, right? I actually started setting my own mental boundaries. So limiting my thoughts, my anxieties, the things that would kind of creep in my mind when those people, places, or things cross my mind. It has helped me become much more self-aware, and I have been able to shift my own mental narrative around how I think about those people, how long I spend thinking about those people, places, or things. And I just make sure that I check myself. If I do start to feel bad for maybe being distant, I remind myself of why. And the next time I interact with those types of people, I just make sure to mentally prepare myself for it. Now, I'm also learning that protecting my peace isn't just about like who or where I spend my time, but also like what I do to my body. For example, nights out with friends, especially when too much alcohol is involved, totally robs me of my peace as I recover. I know getting older has something to do with this. I'm not a I'm not a fool. I understand that, but as I'm getting older, the hangovers get worse, and it's just not worth it. Like being drained and weak and lethargic for the next day or two, it's just not what it used to be. My bounce back isn't what it used to be like I was in college, and it's to a place now where I'm feeling it so much so the next day to where my peace is truly interrupted. And that's not what we're about. That's not what I'm about at this stage in my life now. But you know what? It's also not just about alcohol, right? It's not just about, that impacting me the next day and like me being weak and all of that. I've also noticed that when I stay up extremely late, with or without alcohol, right? This is just a matter of staying up late. It can totally have an impact on my personal peace. Now, I have always been a person who went to bed early. Even in college, I would be in bed by 9 p.m. I'm just one of those people where when I get tired, I can't even force myself to stay up. Like I have to go to bed. At least if I'm at home or like in that environment, if I'm tired, I'm going to bed. So I've always been like that. And I remember my college roommates actually used to make fun of me for it, but I can't help it. If I am home and I am tired, it doesn't matter what we're doing, who I'm talking to, I will fall asleep. So I just go to bed. But because of this, my body naturally wakes up early. So I know I've shared episodes about like my morning routine and just getting a lot of things done first thing in the morning. And I think it's because I've always gone to bed early. So I've always woken up early. So it's ingrained in me that, when I stay up late, I usually can't sleep in, right? So because I'm so used to waking up early, if I do have a night out with friends or if I am staying up late for whatever reason, I usually can't sleep in. So I instantly feel less peaceful when I wake up tired. So again, protecting my peace is making sure I get enough rest. And because I know that my body will naturally wake up early, even if I go to bed late, I have to be mindful of that because the next day I'm going to be struggling to recover. Now, at this point in my life, I want to feel my best at all times. And I found that I always feel my best when I avoid alcohol, I get good rest, I actively move my body, and I eat the right things. Now, this last one, eat the right things, this is something that I have actually been testing for maybe a year or so now. Like I truly see a difference when I don't eat healthy versus when I do eat healthy. So what I usually love to do is, a 4 to 7 day juice cleanse. Ideally once a quarter is kind of my goal, but I think if I can do that twice a year, it really does give me that reset and I feel so much better. So I want to spend more time in this area this year because I know that as I get older, the foods that I eat will have a huge impact on my body, good or bad. So again, if I know that I'm going to be out late or drinking or just, I have a night out planned, I mentally prepare myself. I'll get rest in advance and I'll plan to keep it light after the festivities commence. So if, we have a big day on Saturday, big night out Saturday, Sunday, I have nothing planned, and I'm going to make it a point to make sure that I eat the right things because that will help fuel my recovery. Now, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about my inner peace. In episode 58, my daily morning routine for boosting productivity, I shared the actions that help me start my day the best way possible. I'll make sure to link to that episode in the show notes, but one of the actions that really helps set the tone for my day is journaling. I feel so much inner peace with certain aspects of my morning routine, and journaling is one of those aspects. Gratitude listing is another one, and then just reading. So journaling helps me to get any anxious or exciting feelings, thoughts on paper, right? So if something is just kind of nagging at me, whether it's a good or bad thing, I just like to journal it out, get my thoughts out, and it truly provides an instant relief. It's quite magical how that happens. If you've never done journaling, I highly recommend it. But, just again, getting so many thoughts and jumbled things in your head out on paper not only makes you feel better, not only makes me feel better, but when I can see those thoughts, projected back to me, it's almost like I can work through them better. It's pretty phenomenal. Another aspect of my morning routine that has really helped promote inner peace within myself is gratitude listing. So every morning I gratitude list 5 things that I'm thankful for. So it's literally like a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every day I have to come up with 5 things I'm grateful for. And the more I do this, the more I realize I have so much to be thankful for. There really is never a shortage of things on the list, but this practice of gratitude listing really helps to keep me in a state of appreciation. Always. Like, I'm constantly grateful. I'm constantly appreciative. I'm constantly aware of the things that are going well. And it's such a nice change of pace from always focusing on a goal or always focusing on something that you don't have and want. It's great. So in addition to journaling, I would highly recommend you start gratitude listing. It will help you promote your own inner peace and also see that there's a lot to be grateful for. And then the final aspect of my morning routine, which is actually new, this is a newer part of my routine, and I didn't mention it in episode 58, but reading. I have recently introduced reading to my morning routine. So prior to my mom's passing, I had started already getting deeper and deeper into my faith. And when she died, a friend of mine, actually this same friend who recommended the Celestine Prophecy, sent me a book called Discerning the Voice of God. And as part of my morning routine, I spend a few minutes reading this book, and I always feel amazing. I don't spend long periods of time reading it, but I really soak in the words. And obviously, if you are a faithful person discerning the voice of God, that's something that we strive to do. So that's why I think I don't need to spend lots of time reading this book, but I make sure to soak in every word. And it's awesome how great I feel after reading just a couple pages, couple paragraphs. It's actually hard to explain how or why, but I do notice a difference. And I'm still in the midst of reading this book, but once I finish it, I do plan to move on to another spiritual book and keep this morning task going because I definitely feel the benefits. I definitely feel more peaceful. I feel more connected to God, to my spirituality, and it's a great feeling. So spending time reading spiritual books also helps me when I make it out in nature for my morning walk. So I love to get outside. And again, this kind of started while my mom was sick. I just needed a place to go to move my body, but also be in nature and just kind of be in my own thoughts. And I've noticed that reading spiritual books has contributed to the impact of my morning walks because I read before I go on the walk. And while I'm on the walk, I'm thinking about what I've read and I'm praying and worshiping and just, listening to the birds chirping. I'm watching the sun rise. The wind is blowing. Trees are everywhere. And it's such a serene feeling that I don't see myself starting my day any other way. It's such a peaceful way to start my day. I strongly, again, I recommend everything that I'm sharing because it's helped me so much. But even if you can only spend a few minutes outside early in the morning, I highly recommend it. I feel even more gratitude and I feel closer to God just because of these morning rituals that, I've already gotten done. So it's a great feeling. Okay, so I have also learned to protect my peace in other ways as well. I think over time, these have just kind of come naturally to me and I've seen the impact and benefit. So I'm just going to quickly run through my list just so you can get some additional ideas. But I personally limit my time scrolling on social media. I'm very good about this. I will catch myself if I'm scrolling too much and I will literally close the app and move on. Another thing I do is I make sure to consume things that make me happy. So I do limit my time reading the news. Certain stories trigger instant sadness for me. And I also find that if I, read the headline and it's something that's impactful to me, let's just say a dog is being abused, I get sucked into it and I just don't feel so great. So I make sure to consume things that make me happy. I limit my time reading the news so it's not impacting me and taking away from my peace. I also check myself when I say something unkind about myself. So, I feel like hopefully I'm not the only one who does this, but if I put on a pair of jeans and they're tighter than they were last year, I call myself out and I do it in a way that's actually not very kind. So I'm better about recognizing when I say unkind things to myself and changing that narrative. Not perfect at this, but it's definitely helped me to protect my peace. And then lastly, I make sure to leave other people's struggles, drama, issues just outside of my house. I don't carry that with me into my safe space, aka my home. That's not to say that I don't, have conversations with people who are struggling while I'm at home. It's more so that when those conversations are done or when that time with that person has ended, I make sure to leave it there. I close that book and I don't revisit it while I'm in my safe space. It really does make a big difference. So I'm sure protecting my peace will be a lifelong journey, and I'm totally okay with that, especially as I get older. I just feel better and better the more I embark on this journey. So it's definitely something that I absolutely want to continue. Hopefully there were some takeaways you can implement to protect your own peace. I think it's so important to make sure that our own cups are filled to the brim before we give to others. So thank you for letting me share this, and here's to protecting our peace.